I was sitting in my Chicago office when Kevin called, asking me to check his Gmail for spam while he was on vacation in Miami with Julie and the kids. When I opened his messages and saw the email thread with Attorney Morrison discussing how to prove I had psychologically manipulated our mother into leaving me the larger inheritance, my coffee cup slipped from my hand and shattered on the marble floor. The sound of ceramic hitting marble was sharp and final, like something breaking inside my chest. Let me take you back to that morning, before I discovered what my brother truly thought of me. It was a Tuesday in November, and I had just finished reviewing quarterly reports when Kevin called from his Miami hotel. The background noise of pool parties and children's laughter made me smile. I could picture the scene perfectly. Julie would be lounging by the infinity pool in that new designer bikini she'd posted on Instagram, probably sipping some colorful drink with an umbrella in it. The twins, Emma and Jake, would be splashing around in the shallow end with those expensive water wings I'd bought them last Christmas. All of it funded by my monthly transfers of $2,500 for their mortgage, plus the $2,000 I sent quarterly for the private school tuition, plus another $500 I'd started sending for their family fund, because Kevin had mentioned the kids felt left out when their friends talked about vacation activities. "Bobby, you're a lifesaver," Kevin said, using the childhood nickname that always made me feel like the protective older brother again. His voice was warm and relaxed, probably the first time he'd sounded truly carefree in months. "I'm getting so many emails, and Julie's worried some important stuff might end up in spam. You know how Gmail can be weird sometimes. Plus, she's been on my case about that business insurance renewal, and I don't want to miss anything important while we're trying to actually enjoy ourselves for once." "Of course," I said, already pulling up my laptop. I was genuinely happy to help. Kevin so rarely took vacations. The coffee shop demanded most of his attention, and money was always tight despite my regular contributions. "What's the password again?" "Kevin Julie Forever 2012. He laughed. I know, it's cheesy, but it's our anniversary year. Julie insists on keeping it because she says it reminds her of when we were young and broke but happy. Back when we thought love could pay the bills." The wistfulness in his voice tugged at something in my chest. Kevin had married Julie right out of college, both of them full of dreams but short on practical skills. I remembered their tiny apartment with the leaky faucet and the secondhand furniture, how they used to eat pasta every night because it was all they could afford. When I started making real money at the bank, helping them felt natural, necessary even. Family takes care of family. I smiled as I typed it in. Kevin had always been the romantic one. Even at 54, he still left little love notes for Julie and brought her flowers every Friday. It was one of the things I admired about him, especially after losing my Margaret to cancer 3 years ago. Margaret used to tease me about being too practical, too focused on numbers and not enough on gestures. Watching Kevin with Julie reminded me of what I'd lost, but also made me proud of what I'd helped preserve. "Found anything good?" he asked. In the background, I could hear Emma squealing with delight about something, probably Jake splashing her. I was scrolling through his inbox, moving obvious spam to the junk folder, when I saw the legitimate emails mixed in. Utility bills, school notices, promotional emails from his coffee shop suppliers. Nothing urgent, just the usual administrative debris of adult life. "Just the usual stuff," I said, clicking through promotional emails from restaurant supply companies and coffee roasters. "Your electricity bill is due next week, and Emma's school sent a reminder about the winter concert. Oh, and it looks like your Colombian coffee supplier is offering a 20% discount on your next bulk order. Oh right, the concert. I promised we'd get good seats this year. Emma's been practicing her violin solo for months, and that supplier discount is perfect timing. I was worried about cash flow for the next inventory order." Kevin paused, and his voice got softer. "Bobby, I can't thank you enough for everything you do for us. The school payments, the house help, the business loan for the coffee shop. Hell, even this vacation, Julie only agreed to book it because she knew we had that extra cushion you provide every month. You're the best brother anyone could ask for." My chest warmed at his words. This was why I worked 70-hour weeks, why I turned down early retirement offers, why I lived in a modest 2-bedroom condo instead of the lakefront penthouse I could afford. Hearing the genuine gratitude in Kevin's voice Knowing that my hard work translated into Emma's violin lessons and Jake's soccer camps and Julie's peace of mind. It gave my life meaning that no amount of personal luxury could match. Family takes care of family, Kev. That's what Dad always said. I could picture our father, Frank Wilson, in his worn work clothes, coming home exhausted from the auto plant but still finding energy to help us with homework or throw a baseball in the backyard. Besides, Margaret always said money only matters if it makes the people you love happy. She would have loved seeing Emma and Jake grow up with opportunities we never had. I know. It's just, sometimes I feel guilty taking so much from you. But Julie says I shouldn't worry about it because you make banker money and we're still struggling with the coffee shop's slow start. She reminds me that you don't have kids of your own to spend money on, so in a way, Emma and Jake are like your kids too. The comment stung slightly, though I knew Kevin didn't mean it to hurt. After Margaret's death, we discovered we couldn't have children. Something about her cancer treatments affecting fertility that we'd never had time to properly address before she was gone. Kevin and Julie had been wonderfully supportive during that dark period, and I knew Kevin meant his words as reassurance, not reminder of my loss. Don't even think about it, I insisted, pushing away the familiar ache. The shop just needs time to build a customer base. Your Colombian blend is the best in the neighborhood. I've tasted coffee from places that charge twice what you do, and yours is better. And the kids deserve the best education we can give them. Smart kids like Emma and Jake, with proper support, they could do anything. Emma could be a professional violinist, Jake could be an engineer like he talks about. These early investments in their education will pay dividends for their entire lives. You're right. God, I'm lucky to have you. Julie always says she doesn't know what we do without Uncle Bobby's help. Just yesterday, Jake was asking if you could come to his soccer game next month, and Emma wants to play her violin piece for you when we get back. They worship you, you know that? I did know that, and it filled a hole in my heart that had been carved out by cancer and childlessness and the quiet emptiness of my condo. Being Uncle Bobby wasn't the same as being Dad, but it was something precious and real. We chatted for another 15 minutes about his vacation plans, about taking the kids to see dolphins at the Marine Center, about Julie's excitement over some new resort spa where she was planning to get her first professional massage in 2 years. Kevin told me about the seafood restaurant they tried the night before, how Emma had been brave enough to try oysters and Jake had eaten his weight in shrimp. All of it painted a picture of a family living their best life, guilt-free and grateful for my support. When we hung up, I felt that familiar satisfaction of being the reliable older brother, the one who made everyone's dreams possible. But then I saw the email thread I had somehow missed during our call. The subject line read, Wilson Estate Challenge, Confidential Attorney-Client Communication. My hand froze on the mouse. The office suddenly felt too quiet, too cold. Our mother, Dorothy Wilson, had died 5 years ago, and her will had been settled without any complications. Kevin had seemed perfectly content with his inheritance at the time, 40% of Mom's liquid assets, plus half of her jewelry and furniture. I'd received the house and the larger share of her savings, but that had made sense to everyone. I was older, I was single, and I'd been the one handling Mom's finances and medical care during her final months when the dementia started getting bad. There should be no ongoing correspondence about her estate. No attorney named Morrison. No confidential communications. I clicked on the thread with the same sick feeling I used to get as a kid when I knew I was about to discover Kevin had broken something valuable and hidden it. The same sinking sensation I'd felt when Margaret's doctor had called to schedule just a follow-up appointment to discuss some test results. The first email was from Attorney Morrison, dated 3 weeks ago. Kevin, I've reviewed the documents you provided regarding your mother's will. Based on your testimony about Robert's frequent visits during her final months, and the way he managed her finances during that period, we may have grounds to argue undue influence. The fact that he received the house and 60% of the liquid assets while you received only 40%, despite both being sons, could support our case. Kevin's response made my blood freeze. Morrison, I've been thinking about this for months, actually years if I'm being honest. Bobby was always Mom's golden boy, but those last 2 years when she was getting confused, he was there every day, handling her checkbook, taking her to appointments, making decisions about her medication. I swear he convinced her I was irresponsible with money just because I'd had some credit card problems in my 20s. The truth is, I need that house sale money desperately. The coffee shop is barely breaking even despite what I tell Bobby. And I can't keep playing the grateful little brother forever while he lords his generosity over me. Bobby loves feeling like the big provider, the family savior, but I deserve my fair share of Mom's estate. He manipulated a sick old woman during her most vulnerable period, and I can prove it. I have witnesses who remember him discouraging Mom from giving me money for various things over the years. I had to read that paragraph 3 times before the words penetrated. Credit card problems? I'd helped Kevin pay off $15,000 in credit card debt 6 years ago. Money he'd said was from unexpected medical bills for Julie's pregnancy complications. Barely breaking even? Kevin had told me just last month that the coffee shop was starting to turn the corner, that he was optimistic about the upcoming holiday season. But it was the phrase, playing the grateful little brother, that hit me like a physical blow. Every phone call, every family dinner, every heartfelt thank you, had it all been an act? Performance designed to keep the money flowing? The attorney's reply was clinical and calculating. We'll need witnesses who can testify to Robert's excessive influence during your mother's vulnerable period. The fact that he was added to her bank accounts and credit cards during her final 18 months is definitely suspicious. Can you document any instances where he discouraged your mother from spending money on you or your family? Morrison, the beautiful part is that Bobby has no idea I'm planning this. He's still sending me $2,500 every month for the mortgage, plus he paid $24,000 for the kids' school this year. Just last month he gave me another $15,000 when I told him the coffee shop needed new equipment. Equipment I never actually bought, by the way. The man is a walking ATM, and he actually thinks I'm grateful. He gets this pathetic look on his face when I thank him, like he's finally found his purpose in life since his wife died. I figure I can milk him for another 6 months, maybe get him to help with a second location for the coffee shop, and then we'll hit him with the lawsuit. Let the greedy manipulator see how it feels to lose everything he stole from our mother. The irony is perfect. He'll fund his own destruction. I read that paragraph 4 times, my hands growing numb. The room seemed to tilt and blur around the edges. Walking ATM. Pathetic look on his face. Milk him for another 6 months. Fund his own destruction. Every word Kevin had spoken to me 20 minutes earlier, about gratitude, about family, about Emma and Jake wanting to see me, suddenly looked different. Not lies exactly, but something worse. Calculated manipulation designed to extract maximum emotional and financial benefit. The $15,000 for coffee shop equipment. I remembered that conversation clearly. Kevin had called me late one evening, stress obvious in his voice, explaining that the espresso machine was breaking down and he needed to replace it before the busy holiday season. Bobby, I hate asking, but if I don't get this fixed, I might lose the Christmas rush entirely, and that's what carries us through the slow winter months. I transferred the money the same night. Immediate wire transfer because family emergencies don't wait for business hours. Equipment he never bought. Money he pocketed while looking me in the eye and expressing grateful appreciation for my support. $2,500 every month for 10 years. $300,000 just for their mortgage. $24,000 per year for Emma and Jake's private school. $240,000 over 10 years of education. $50,000 to start the coffee shop that was supposed to be Kevin's dream. $15,000 last month for equipment he probably never bought. I looked around my office at the photos of Kevin's family vacations, their Christmas mornings, their kids' graduation pictures. Every single happy moment had been subsidized by my bank account while Kevin planned to destroy me in court. I was not angry. Anger is hot and impulsive and makes you do stupid things. I was something much more dangerous. I was perfectly, mathematically calm. I spent the rest of that Tuesday night in my home office, surrounded by 10 years of financial records. Bank statements, wire transfer receipts, canceled checks, loan documents. Every dollar I had ever given Kevin was meticulously documented because that's how bankers think. We keep records of everything. $315,000 in mortgage assistance, $240,000 in education costs, $50,000 for the coffee shop initial investment, $22,000 in various emergency loans over the years, $18,000 for their car payments when Kevin claimed the coffee shop cash flow was tight, $12,000 for family vacations that Julie insisted the kids needed for creating memories, $8,000 for home repairs that always seemed to happen right before Christmas. Total investment in Kevin's happiness, $665,000, plus the opportunity cost of what that money could have earned if I had invested it conservatively over 10 years. Another $120,000 minimum. I had financed Kevin's entire adult life while he called me a greedy manipulator behind my back. At 3 a.m, I called my attorney, David Hoffman. David had been handling my legal affairs for 15 years, and he was used to my late-night calls during financial crises. Banking emergencies don't respect normal business hours. "Robert, what's keeping you up now?" he asked, his voice groggy but alert. I could hear him fumbling for bedside lamp, the creak of his leather office chair that he kept in his home study. "David, I need to understand something about gift taxation and financial recovery. If I've been giving someone substantial monthly payments for years, and I discover they obtained those payments through deception, what are my legal options?" I could hear David sitting up in bed, probably reaching for the legal pad he kept on his nightstand. "How substantial are we talking, Robert? And what kind of deception?" $665,000 over 10 years. Plus I'm listed as co-owner on a business I helped capitalize. The deception involves fraudulent misrepresentation of financial need. Plus I've discovered the recipient has been planning to sue me for inheritance fraud while continuing to accept my financial support. Jesus Christ, Robert. What happened? This sounds like a family situation. I took a deep breath and read him selected portions of Kevin's email thread with Attorney Morrison. David listened without interrupting, and I could hear him taking detailed notes, the scratch of pen on paper rhythmic and urgent. "Robert," David said when I finished reading, "you need to understand something immediately. What you're describing isn't just ingratitude or family drama. This is actionable fraud. If Kevin has been misrepresenting his financial situation to obtain money from you while simultaneously planning legal action against you, that constitutes fraud in the first degree under Illinois statute. What kind of timeline are we looking at if I want to protect myself legally? Give me 48 hours to research the specifics, but Robert, there are immediate steps you need to take. If you're listed as co-owner on that coffee shop, you have legal authority to make binding decisions about its operations, including freezing accounts and demanding financial audits. And if Kevin has been taking money from the business while claiming it's losing money, that's embezzlement. David, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about the money. This is about 10 years of believing I was helping my brother build a life when he was actually running a con game on me. I understand, Robert. But from a legal perspective, your emotional investment actually strengthens your case. The more Kevin relied on your belief in his gratitude and need, the more clearly his behavior constitutes fraud. We can prove pattern, intent, and damages. What's my exposure if Kevin follows through with his inheritance lawsuit? David was quiet for a moment, and I could hear him flipping through what sounded like a law book. Robert, Kevin's emails to his attorney constitute evidence of malicious prosecution. He's admitted in writing that he knows his claims are questionable, but he wants to pursue them anyway out of greed. If he files that lawsuit after we've documented his fraudulent behavior toward you, we can countersue for malicious prosecution and probably win punitive damages. So he's trapped. Kevin is trapped. If he sues you, we destroy him with his own emails and his financial fraud. If he doesn't sue you, he loses his only leverage to try to get more money from the estate. Either way, the gravy train stops now. I thanked David and hung up, then opened my laptop to examine the coffee shop's business accounts. As co-owner of Wilson Brothers Coffee Company, I had full access to all financial records, bank statements, and transaction histories. What I found was breathtaking in its dishonesty. Kevin had been reporting monthly revenues to me of around $12,000, claiming the shop was barely breaking even after expenses. But the actual bank deposits showed monthly revenues of $28,000. The coffee shop wasn't struggling. It was thriving. Kevin had been lying about the business's success while continuing to take my money for equipment upgrades and marketing expenses that never appeared in the business accounts. I called David back. "I found something," I said. "Kevin's been underreporting the coffee shop's income by more than half while taking additional money from me for fake business expenses." "Robert, that's fraud. Clear, documented fraud. How much are we talking about in false claims?" I calculated quickly. Approximately $45,000 in unnecessary business loans over the past 2 years, based on financial information he knew was false. "I'll file the paperwork tomorrow morning to freeze the business accounts pending a fraud investigation. As co-owner, you have the right to demand an immediate audit. Kevin won't be able to access any business funds until this is resolved." "How long will that take?" "Weeks minimum. Maybe months if he fights it." "But Robert, here's the thing about fraud cases. Once we establish a pattern of deception in one area, it makes everything else he's told you legally suspect." Thursday morning, I began what Kevin would later call the most vicious betrayal in family history. I called it justice. I started with my own bank, First National, where I'd been a client for 22 years and where my personal banker knew my account history better than I did. "Robert, good morning," said Patricia Chun, my account manager. "What can I help you with today?" "Patricia, I need to cancel all automatic transfers to Kevin Wilson's accounts, effective immediately. Every standing payment authorization, every scheduled wire transfer, everything." "That's quite a few transactions, Robert. May I ask if there's a problem with the accounts?" "There's been a fundamental change in circumstances that requires immediate termination of all financial support." Patricia's voice became more formal, more careful. "Robert, these transfers have been running for almost 10 years. The monthly amount alone is $2,500, plus quarterly payments of $2,000, plus irregular transfers that sometimes reach $15,000 or more. Are you sure you want to cancel everything at once?" "I want every automatic payment stopped, every scheduled transfer canceled, every future authorization revoked. If Kevin Wilson tries to access funds from any of my accounts in any way, I want to be notified immediately. I'll need you to come in and sign paperwork to make these changes official. This afternoon. I'll be there in 2 hours." Next, I called Emma and Jake's private school, St. Catherine's Academy. I'd been making tuition payments directly to the school for 5 years, and they knew me as the generous uncle who always paid early and in full. "Mr. Wilson, how nice to hear from you," said Mrs. Henderson, the admissions director. "I hope Emma and Jake are enjoying their vacation. Mrs. Henderson, I need to inform you that I will no longer be covering tuition payments for Emma and Jake Wilson, effective immediately. Their father will need to make arrangements for the remaining semester balance and all future payments." There was a long pause. "Mr. Wilson, is everything all right? Your support has been so consistent over the years. The children are doing wonderfully in their programs." "The children are wonderful, Mrs. Henderson, and I hope their father finds a way to continue their education here. But my financial support ends today." "I understand. We'll need to speak with Mr. Kevin Wilson about payment arrangements when he returns from vacation. The balance for this semester is $8,000, and registration for next semester requires payment in full by January 15th. Finally, I called David back with instructions that would end Kevin's coffee shop permanently. "David, I want you to file paperwork immediately to freeze Wilson Brothers Coffee Company's operating accounts pending a complete financial audit. Robert, that will shut down the business entirely. Kevin won't be able to make payroll, pay suppliers, or cover operating expenses. David, Kevin has stolen from me personally. He's stolen from the business, and he's planning to sue me based on false claims while continuing to take my money. I don't want the business to operate another day under these circumstances. I'll have the paperwork filed this morning. The accounts will be frozen by close of business today." "Good. And David, I want Kevin to learn about all of this from his bank accounts, not from me. Let him discover what happens when you try to destroy someone who's been keeping you alive financially." He called at 2:30 in the afternoon, just as I expected. The kids would have gotten out of school by then, and Julie would have tried to buy groceries with a debit card that was declined due to insufficient funds. "Bobby, what the hell is going on?" Kevin's voice was high and panicked. Julie tried to pay for groceries and our account is empty. The school called and said tuition payments have stopped. And I can't access any of the coffee shop money. Kevin, I said calmly, I need to read you something. What are you talking about? There's some kind of banking error and you're reading me something? I opened the email thread on my computer. This is from your message to Attorney Morrison dated 3 weeks ago. Quote, the beautiful part is that Bobby has no idea I'm planning this. He's still sending me $2,500 every month for the mortgage, plus he paid $24,000 for the kids' school this year. The man is a walking ATM, and he actually thinks I'm grateful. I figure I can milk him for another 6 months, and then we'll hit him with the lawsuit. Let the greedy manipulator see how it feels to lose everything he stole from our mother. End quote. The silence on Kevin's end was so complete I could hear Julie talking frantically in the background. Bobby, I can explain. Kevin, in the past 10 years, I have given you $665,000. I have documentation for every transfer, every check, every payment I made on your behalf. You have called me a greedy manipulator while taking my money to finance lawsuits against me. You have lied about your coffee shop's revenue by more than 50% while requesting additional business loans. As of today, all financial assistance ends permanently. You can't do this. Julie and the kids need a father who doesn't commit fraud against his own brother. You need a husband who doesn't steal from family members. Kevin, I'm not angry with you. I'm done with you. Bobby, please let me come over and we can talk about this. There's been a misunderstanding. I hung up. Kevin called back 17 times that afternoon. I answered none of the calls. Friday morning, David called with an update on the business audit. Robert, this is worse than we thought. Kevin has been withdrawing cash from the business accounts for personal expenses. According to the records, he's taken over $30,000 in unauthorized distributions while claiming the business was losing money. What does that mean legally? It means Kevin has been embezzling from his own company while you were listed as co-owner. You're legally entitled to recover those funds plus damages. But there's something else. I called the mortgage company to understand Kevin's loan situation. And, Robert, Kevin took out a second mortgage on the house 18 months ago. $68,000. He never mentioned this to you. My hand tightened on the phone. He asked me for $40,000 to expand the coffee shop around that time. I assumed that's what the money was for. Kevin borrowed against the house and then took additional money from you for the same expansion. That's another clear case of fraud. Robert, Kevin is in serious legal trouble even without your civil claims. What happens next? The mortgage company has been trying to contact Kevin about missed payments on the second mortgage for 3 months. With his primary funding source cut off, that's you, he's probably going to default within weeks. Saturday afternoon, Julie called me directly. Robert, please. I'm begging you to reconsider whatever this fight is about. Emma and Jake are asking why they can't go back to St. Catherine's next week. I don't understand what happened, but Kevin is talking about lawyers and saying you've frozen everything. This is destroying our family. Julie, Kevin has been planning to sue me for 5 years over our mother's will while taking my money every month. He's been lying about the coffee shop's income while asking for additional business loans. He's called me a greedy manipulator in legal documents while accepting $665,000 from me over 10 years. Julie was quiet for a long moment. Robert, what are you talking about? Kevin would never say those things about you. I forwarded her Kevin's entire email thread with Attorney Morrison. Julie called back 20 minutes later, sobbing. I didn't know, she kept repeating. Robert, I swear to God, I didn't know he was saying those things about you. I thought you were helping us because you wanted to. I thought you loved us. I did love you, Julie. I loved all of you. That's why this hurts so much. What can we do to fix this? Julie, Kevin committed fraud. He's going to face legal consequences. The best thing you can do is protect yourself and the kids. Monday morning, the coffee shop couldn't open. Kevin couldn't make payroll without access to the business accounts, and he couldn't access the accounts without completing a fraud investigation that required him to explain where $30,000 in business withdrawals had gone. By Wednesday, Wilson Brothers Coffee Company had laid off all 6 employees. By Friday, the shop was closed permanently. Kevin's mortgage company began foreclosure proceedings the following Monday. Throughout all of this, Kevin kept calling, texting, and eventually showing up at my office building, demanding that I be reasonable and think about the family. The last conversation I had with Kevin was in my office lobby, with security guards present, 3 weeks after I'd discovered his betrayal. "Bobby, you're destroying my children's lives over a misunderstanding," Kevin said, his voice hoarse from stress. "Emma and Jake don't understand why their uncle doesn't love them anymore. Kevin, I have never stopped loving Emma and Jake, but I will not finance their lives through a father who steals from me. I never stole from you. Those were gifts." I opened my briefcase and pulled out printed copies of all his emails with Attorney Morrison. "Kevin, you wrote these words. I can milk him for another 6 months, and then we'll hit him with the lawsuit. Those aren't the words of someone receiving gifts. Those are the words of someone running a con." Kevin's face crumpled. "Bobby, I was angry when I wrote those emails. I didn't mean them. I was just frustrated because I felt like I was always asking you for help." "You weren't frustrated, Kevin. You were planning, for months, while taking my money and smiling at family dinners. Please, just give me a chance to make this right. I'll pay you back." "With what money, Kevin? Your coffee shop is closed. Your house is in foreclosure. You're facing fraud charges. You don't have any money because every dollar you've had for the past 10 years came from me." Kevin's shoulders shook as he started to cry. "I don't know what to do. Julie's talking about divorce. The kids hate me. I'm going to lose everything." "Kevin, you lost everything the moment you decided I was your enemy instead of your brother." I gathered my papers and walked toward the elevator. "Bobby, wait," Kevin called after me. "What am I supposed to do now?" I turned back to look at my brother for what I knew would be the last time. "Kevin, I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to live my life without wondering who's lying to me about loving me." The elevator doors closed, and I never spoke to Kevin again. 6 months later, I was having dinner at Morton's Steakhouse when I saw Kevin through the window. He was wearing a uniform shirt and walking quickly down the sidewalk. I asked my server about the restaurant across the street, and she mentioned they'd recently hired several new delivery drivers. Kevin Wilson, who had once owned a coffee shop and lived in a 4-bedroom house in Evanston, was delivering food for $12 an hour plus tips. Julie had filed for divorce and moved back to her mother's house in Wisconsin with Emma and Jake. Kevin was living in a studio apartment in Rogers Park and taking the bus to work. I thought I might feel satisfaction seeing his downfall, but instead I felt something closer to relief. Kevin had shown me his true face, and I had responded appropriately. There was a mathematical elegance to it that appealed to my banker's sensibilities. My therapist asked me if I missed Kevin, and I told her the truth. I missed the Kevin I thought I knew, but that Kevin had never existed. The real Kevin had been planning to sue me while cashing my checks. I took the money I had been sending Kevin each month, $2,500, and donated it to a scholarship fund for children whose parents couldn't afford private school tuition. Emma and Jake received full scholarships from the fund, though they never knew where the money came from. Julie sent me a thank you card when the kids graduated high school with honors. She didn't mention Kevin, and I didn't ask. The coffee shop space on Halstead Street became a bookstore. Sometimes I drive past it and remember how excited Kevin had been about his business dream. But then I remember that his dream was financed with money he intended to steal from me through fraudulent lawsuits, and the nostalgia fades quickly. I learned that family isn't defined by blood or shared memories, or even genuine affection. Family is defined by honesty and loyalty and keeping your word. Kevin had been my brother, but he had never been my family. These days, I spend my money on travel and charitable causes and a new relationship with a woman named Patricia who makes me laugh and never asks me for anything more than my company. When people ask if I regret cutting Kevin off so completely, I tell them that I regret believing his lies for 10 years. But I don't regret discovering the truth, and I don't regret responding to that truth with appropriate consequences. Some betrayals are so fundamental that forgiveness isn't wisdom. It's foolishness. Kevin taught me that lesson, and it was worth every dollar I paid for the education. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments below.